Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Today we will be continuing reading about Lord Chaitanya's youthful pastimes as explained in the Ādi chapter 15. So we have stopped our last episode at 15.15. So this time we will start with 15.16. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषशून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Chaitanya Charitamrita, chapter 15, text 16. So please share this live stream with others in the group and in the WhatsApp groups and social media so that others will be notified, because we have not done these sessions for a while now. Busy with the Janmashtami preparations, so we're reviving it again. So to just remind everyone. So thank you all for coming. So 15:16. एक दिन नैवेद्य तांबूल खाइया भूमि ते पड़िला प्रभु अचेतन होया। One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate betel nuts offered to the deity, but they acted as an intoxicant and he fell down on the ground unconscious. Purport. Betel nuts are an intoxicant and therefore the regulatory principles prohibit eating them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime of fainting after eating betel nuts is a solid instruction to all of us that one should not touch betel nuts, even those offered to Vishnu, just as one should not touch grains on the Ekadashi day. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's fainting had a particular purpose. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can do whatever he likes and eat whatever he wants, but we should not imitate his pastimes. So, there are a few things here. Betel nuts, nobody faints because of betel nuts, right? But the Lord fainted. Why? Not because he was, intoxicated in the material sense of the word. Of course, he's teaching us on one side that intoxication is, bad, and betel nuts are also an intoxicant. And on Ekadashi day, we offer grains to Krishna, but we don't take the grains, even though it is prasadam. So there's some things, regulatory principles which we should follow. And even though betel nuts can be offered to Krishna, but they cannot be tasted by us. So that's why the Ekadashi example is given there. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's fainting, that is because of his ecstasy of eating Krishna Prasadam and betel nuts. I think there are pastimes like that of Radharani also tasting the betel nuts and the gopis tasting the betel nuts from Krishna's mouth, um, and becoming ecstatic. So those things are there. So spiritually, it is a different thing. Um, but for us, then there are other lessons to learn. So everything that the Lord does, we have externally it appears as one thing, internally it's another thing, and both are instructive, spiritually and materially. An example of it is Ramayana. Sri Ramachandra's pastimes of separation from Mother Sita, they resemble an ordinary separation of a man and woman, and in this material world, such separation is painful and full of attachment, full of ignorance. Huh? And a man who's extremely attached to his wife is actually condemned in all scriptures and even by people in general. But Ramchandra Bhagavan, he appeared as so, as if he was, extremely attached to Mother Sita, and he was crying as she was missing. All that is instructive for us that, if a man is too much attached to woman, his life will be miserable. So that is one. Another lesson externally. These are all external lessons. I mean, external when I say, um, in the society, materialistic society, for our advancement. Um, According to the Vedic rules and regulations, the duties attached to them. So from that angle, when I say external. So another external lesson is that a husband should go to any length to protect his wife. He went and waged war and killed the entire dynasty of Ravan just to save or protect his wife. So these things are there. See, um, but internally he was experiencing vipralambha, the separation, pastime of separation, viraha. So that is very high internal lesson. That is the highest teaching. In fact, Madhavendra Puri, today morning also in the class, in the Srimad Bhagavatam lecture, we were discussing this at the end of the lecture. Um, the viraha or the separation, service and separation, the mood of separation from the Lord, that is very much exemplified by Madhavendra Puri. And he wrote this verse, which is आई दीन दयार्द्र नाथ है मथुरा नाथ कदावलोक्य से हृदयं त्वदलोककातरं दयितभ्राम्यति किं करोम्यहम्. It's a beautiful verse. O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of my not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? And Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami states in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srila Prabhupada also states that, all our acharyas, that the seed of Madhurya Ras in Madhva Sampradaya, of course, Brahma also chants the Kama Gayatri mantra in the Brahma Loka. But down the line, it was not so much of Madhurya. Even Madhvacharya was not in the Madhurya Ras. But Madhavendra Puri, the spiritual master of Ishwar Puri, introduced the Madhurya Ras in our Sampradaya. And it is in the Madhurya Ras of the gopis, which is even more exalted than the Madhurya Ras of the Lakshmi and even the queens at Dwarka. It is even more glorious than that. And here, this particular verse is from the mood of the gopis and especially Srimati Radharani. And Madhavendra Puri composed this verse. Ai Deena Dayardra Nath Hai. Um, a very nice explanation is given by Srila Prabhupada. And in the morning we read that. You see here. You see, Sri Madhavendra Puri introduced the conception of conjugal love for the first time in the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. And this conclusion of the Madhvacharya Sampradaya was revealed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he toured Southern India, and met the Tattvavadis who supposedly belonged to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. I mean, supposedly, the word here is used supposedly, alluding to the opinion that, the Tattvavadis do not belong to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya. The reason being, although they do belong to the Madhvacharya Sampradaya, but they have kind of deviated from the real message of the Sampradaya. So this is how the Sampradayas become distorted, and over time they become lost. So what happened with Tattvavadis is that they concentrated more on the Varnashram regulations and liberation and the ultimate sense. So they gave more importance to these. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met them, he defeated them in the argument that this is all there is to it. That following the Varnashram system and liberation, this is all there is to it. There is love of Godhead that is need to be that needs to be attained. There is a prema pumartho mahan. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu presented. Yeah. The Varnashram, all these things are to satisfy Vishnu and ultimately come to the point of loving Godhead. Yeah. And that love also he what is it, advocated for the conjugal love. If you see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversations with Tattvavadis and also Venkata Bhatt of Sri Sampradaya, he was particularly stressing on the gopis' love for Krishna, excelling even the love of Lakshmi for the Lord. So this verse is Ai Deena Dayardra Nath hai Mathura Nath Kadavalokya. Same. When shall I see you, O Master of Mathura? Because when Krishna left Vrindavan, he went to Mathura, and Radharani is expressing herself that you have now become Mathura Nath. No more, Vrindavan Nath, and no more Gopinath. You have become Mathura Nath now. Now you have forgotten us. And I do not know when you will even come back. And there is no reason for you to come back because you're not married to us, technically. So we are lost. I don't know what to do now. Kim karomyaham. Huh? You see the word? Daita bhramyati. Kim karomyaham. What shall I do now? I was only living for you, and now you have gone. No promise of coming back. No news from you anymore. So this is viraha. This service, conjugal love and separation, was introduced by Madhavendra Puri. He started the seed, and through Ishwar Puri, then it was fully bloomed in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After which, again, the 6 Goswamis and all the acharyas have, you know, what is that? Relished that and propagated that. So, we'll continue this purport here. When Sri Krishna left Vrindavan and accepted the kingdom of Mathura, Srimati Radharani, out of ecstatic feelings of separation, expressed how Krishna can be loved in separation. Thus, devotional service in separation is central to this verse. Worship in separation is considered by the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya to be the topmost level of devotional service. According to this conception, the devotee thinks of himself as very poor and neglected by the Lord. Deena Dayardra. Same. So this is humility, karpanyan, one of the 6 aspects of surrender that is visible in this verse. Ai Deena Dayardra Natha hai. I am Deena. I am not this great devotee. Madhavendra Puri is one of the greatest devotees. You can read the 4th chapter of Madhya Lila. Extremely, pure devotee, powerful devotee. And then he is saying, I Deena Dayardra Natha hai. Thinking himself as poor and neglected by the Lord. Thus he addresses the Lord as Deena Dayardanath, as did Madhavendra Puri. Such an ecstatic feeling is the highest form of devotional service. Because Krishna had gone to Mathura, Srimati Radharani was very much affected, and she expressed herself thus. My dear Lord, because of your separation, my mind has become overly agitated. Now tell me, what can I do? I am very poor, and you are very merciful. So kindly have compassion upon me, and let me know when I shall see you. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was always expressing the ecstatic emotions of Srimati Radharani that she exhibited when she saw Uddhava at Vrindavan. And there is this beautiful set of verses in Srimad Bhagavatam called the Brahmara Gita. Brahmara Gita is when Srimati Radharani was talking to the bumblebee in the presence of Uddhava. And Uddhava firsthand saw the madness of Srimati Radharani, the transcendental madness, how mad she was for Krishna. And that was the first time he was introduced to that level of love in separation. And it's it's very deep, Brahmara Gita. And it's in the 10th canto, 47th chapter. You can see, maybe, I don't remember the verse numbers exactly. So there it is there, the whole Brahmara Gita. So that is what is being referred to here. Similar feelings experienced by Madhavendra Puri are expressed in this verse. Therefore, Vaishnavas in the Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya say that the ecstatic feelings experienced by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during his appearance came from Sri Madhavendra Puri through Ishwar Puri. All the devotees in the line of Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya accept these principles of devotional service. We cannot imitate these things, but we should know these feelings, and we should, feel like that. Not in the at the level of, transcendental madness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but we should acknowledge. For example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he's famously sang in his song, Asura Sakala Pailo Charan Vinod Thakilo Bosi. He said, all the asuras, they have attained your lotus feet, O Krishna, but I am still here in this material world rotting away. So he is, Dina Dayardra. So he's considering himself as the most fallen. So these, Narottam Das Thakur also many times in the song, he said, Mosama Patita Prabhu Na Paibe Ar. Mosama Patita Prabhu Na Paibe Ar. He said, um, you cannot find anyone more fallen than me. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I know you have come to deliver fallen souls. And here I am, the most fallen. You should deliver me first. In fact, Yamunacharya from Sri Sampradaya also wrote a similar verse. Um, I forgot the verse. So he wrote a similar verse. In fact, Bhaktivinoda Thakur studied Yamunacharya's Stotra Ratna. Stotra Ratna is the series of verses. It's like Mukundamala Stotra of Kulashekara Alvar. Yamunacharya wrote Stotra Ratna. Beautiful verses expressing his devotion to the Lord. And in that, these verses are mentioned. This verse is mentioned, where he's petitioning to the Lord. Let me try to remember that. Where he's petitioning to the Lord that, there is nobody more fallen than me. You should consider delivering me first than others. That sounds like more very selfish, but it's not exactly selfish. It is extreme desperation and, humility. Let me. mm, Okay. Yes. Okay. You see here, this is the verse. Stotra Ratna 47. Namrusha परमार्थमेव मे शृणु विज्ञापनम् एकमग्रतः यदि मे न दयिष्यसे तदा दयनीयस्तव नाथ दुर्लभः. Let us submit one piece of information before you, my Lord, our dear Lord. It is not at all false, but is full of meaning. It is this: if you are not merciful upon us, then it will be very, very difficult to find more suitable candidates for your mercy. Nobody is more suitable for your mercy than me, because I am the most fallen. If you do not be merciful upon me, then you will not find a better candidate who requires the mercy, because I am the most fallen. So from this, Bhaktivinoda Thakur has taken, and he wrote many songs. He studied the Stotra Ratna also before he wrote his songs. And of course, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is a pure devotee himself. So, so these kinds of feeling, this is called Dina. Uh, so going back. Hmm. So anyway, coming back to this point, um, betel nuts. So the gopis, they used to taste these betel nuts from Krishna's mouth and all that. So in that ecstasy, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fainted, but he is teaching us that we have to not take betel nuts, otherwise it's an intoxicant. That's the lesson. And the other lesson is he can do whatever he likes. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, somebody came to Prabhupada and said, "Oh, Ramchandra ate meat in the forest as he was doing Vanavas." That was not true. But anyway, Prabhupada challenged him. Well, Ramchandra can eat you also. He can eat the whole universe. Huh? What if so? What if he eats? Huh? He can eat anything. But then he also killed Ravana. Can you? Huh. He made the bridge float on the ocean. Can you? Why are you trying to imitate Ramchandra? Prabhupada retorted back. But anyway, that meaning is not that he was eating meat. There are two verses from Ramayana, which were contested by some people. But actually, it means the flesh of the fruit, which is the which was Sita Mata was cooking. So either way, uh, Ramchandra Bhagavan, even if he eats meat, even if he eats, like in the Bhagavad Gita, we see the Virat Rupa of Krishna, right? And Arjuna saw that all the people on this battlefield were actually entering his mouth and being smashed between his teeth. So what is that? So Krishna is basically eating everyone, right? And at the end of the universal dissolution, he gobbles up the entire universe, universes, multiple universes, and he withdraws everything into his body. So what does it? What does that mean? He's eating all the meat of the universe. He can eat. It's coming from him. He's the one who created it. He can eat. But we are not to imitate him. Of course, he doesn't eat meat. It is not exactly eating. But it is his own energy. He is the one who created it. And he can withdraw everything. So we cannot hold the Lord as a person who has committed some mistake. No, never. That's why we should not imitate. I hope you know that verses, in the 10th canto, 33rd chapter, right? धर्मव्यतिक्रमो दृष्ट ईश्वराणां च साहसं त्यजीयसां न दोषाय वह्नेः सर्वभुजो यथा. The status of powerful controllers is not harmed by any apparently audacious transgression of morality we may see in them, for they are just like fire which devours everything fed into it and remains unpolluted. नैतत्समाचरेज्जातु मनसापि ह्यनीश्वरः विनश्यत्याचरन्मौढ्याद् यथा रुद्रोब्धिजं विषम्. One who is not a great controller should never imitate the behavior of ruling personalities, even mentally. If out of foolishness an ordinary person does imitate such behavior, he will simply destroy himself, just as a person who is not Rudra would destroy himself if he tried to drink an ocean of poison. ईश्वराणां वचः सत्यं तथैवाचरितं क्वचित् तेषां यत्स्ववचो युक्तं बुद्धिमांस्तत्समाचरेत्. The statements of the Lord's empowered servants are always true, and the acts they perform are exemplary when consistent with those statements. Therefore, one who is intelligent should carry out their instructions. कुशलाचरितेनैषाम् इह स्वार्थो न विद्यते विपर्ययेण वानर्थो निरहङ्कारिणां प्रभो. My dear Prabhu, when these great persons who are free from false ego act piously in this world, they have no selfish motives to fulfill. And even when they act in apparent contradiction to the laws of piety, they are not subject to sinful reactions. किमुताखिलसत्त्वानां तिर्यन्मर्त्यदिवौकसाम् इषितुश्चेशितव्यानां कुशलाकुशलान्वयः. How then could the Lord of all created beings, animals, men, and demigods, have any connection with the piety and impiety that affect his subject creatures? यत्पादपङ्कजपरागनिषेव तृप्ता योगप्रभावविधुताखिलकर्मबन्धाः स्वैरं चरन्ति मुनयोऽपि न दह्यमानस्तस्येच्छयात्तवपुषः कुत एव बन्धः. Material activities never entangle the devotees of the Supreme Lord, who are fully satisfied by serving the dust of his lotus feet. Nor do material activities entangle those intelligent sages who have freed themselves from the bondage of all fruitive reactions by the power of yoga. So, how could there be any question of bondage for the Lord himself, who assumes his transcendental forms according to his own sweet will? गोपीनां तत्पतीनां च सर्वेषामेव देहिनां योऽन्तश्चरति सोऽध्यक्षः क्रीडनेनेह देहभाक्. He who lives as the overseeing witness within the gopis and their husbands, and indeed within all embodied living beings, assumes forms in this world to enjoy transcendental pastimes. So, this is in connection with the accusation that, how can Krishna commit sinful activities, or, being a leader, do things like dancing with other people's wives in the midnight in solitude. So, these verses are the answer of Shukadeva Goswami to that. The Lord is already in the heart of the gopis and the husbands of the gopis and in every single ant of the creation, the body of an ant, everywhere he is there. So he is assuming his form and he is engaging in his pastimes. The gopis belong to him, actually, not to their husbands. Everybody belongs to Krishna. Nobody belongs to anyone else. In fact, the family members and government, all of them are Krishna's energy, Krishna's representatives for maintaining for his maintenance. He maintains everyone. How does he maintain? For example, a baby, a small baby, is born into this world. Now, very helpless, absolutely, cannot defend himself. Nothing. How is he going to be protected from the cruel forces of nature? How? What is the arrangement for his maintenance in such a desperate and helpless position? Krishna infuses the father, mother, and some, especially in animal kingdom, you will see also the animals. The mother is extremely protective of the children, of her cubs, like lions or any animals. Very, very protective of their children, elephants, and that is true for all species, even humans. So the parents, so Krishna infuses the parents with such affection for the child that they will do anything to protect the child. So it is Krishna's way of protecting the child by inducing the mother to have such inordinate, extraordinary affection for the child. So in that way, he is maintained. The child is maintained. The mother, especially for the first few months of the child's life, The mother has no time for anything else. She is 24 hours serving the child. The child is not going to pay a single cent. Who will ever work for someone 24 hours? There's no shift. I mean, there is just like the sleep deprived, everything. But she does everything for the child. Why? Because of affection. If the mother doesn't do that, the child cannot even survive. So you see, and her own blood, she feeds him with her own blood in the form of milk. So, I mean, that is extraordinary sacrifice, right? But that's how Krishna maintains everyone. So, it is Krishna who is maintaining through the agency of these mother, father, government. We are now happily, discussing Bhagavatam. If there is no strong government, there is no law and order. Anytime, people can, take weapons and kill and, loot everybody. We can't even sit in peace and do anything. So Krishna has invested some power in all these representatives to, you know, maintain the, the creation at all levels. Now, they may not be fully doing the duties as Krishna wants them to, but whatever is there, according to the, time and circumstance, the Kali Yuga, now it's Kali Yuga, so all, uh, even the rulers, they don't know what is actually correct, what is wrong. But whatever it is, some semblance of order is seen so that at least we can do our activities, our preaching peacefully, if not anything else. So these are all, the ways in which the Lord maintains. Another interesting insight of how, now you see in government, at least in Singapore, and every country has these things. Community development projects, like how to take care of the elderly, how to take care of the mentally disabled, or how to take care of broken families, and all these societal issues. You see, so the government here and many parts of the world have departments for these things, community projects, and it's quite centralized. And there is a family counseling unit, like what is that? MCYS, Ministry of Culture, Youth, and Society, and a part of that is MFS, Ministry of Family Services, or something like that. So when family issues are there, you can go there and kind of address your concerns. Now, these community projects and subsidies, health subsidies for elderly, and all these kinds of projects that the government undertakes actually is not the right way of doing things. If we talk about the perfect society, ideal society, these are replacements for a broken system, adjustments of a broken system. Because you see, in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, interesting, 40. Okay, let's look at this. Um, okay, you see this, chapter 1, text 40. अधर्माभिभवात् कृष्ण प्रदुष्यन्ति कुलस्त्रियः स्त्रीषु दुष्टासु वार्ष्णेय जायते वर्णसंकरः. How disorder comes into society is explained here. So if there is no proper family unit, if the man of the family is not there, the loose. Women become loose. Strishu dushta, so they will not be. In fact, there is uh, statistics in America. I mean, I don't know about other countries. Should be the same because it's consistent with Shastra. They say that the perfect household is two parents in the house, father and mother. The second best after that is one parent, which is the father in the house. The worst is the single parent when the mother is the parent in the house. And of course, worse than that is no parents, and both are in jail or somewhere, and these children are just like nobody's. So that is, of course, worst. But among single parent households, with the father in the house compared to with the mother in the house, if there is only mother in the house, it is far worse. Why? Because, you know, Strishu Dushta Savarshneya. This is the reason. The father figure in the house is very important. The person who disciplines. So anyway, these are materialistic statistics. But these are the considerations that Arjuna also raised. And he said, Pradushyanti kulastriyaham. Um, Pradushyanti means become polluted, the women. So when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood or descendant of Vrishni comes unwanted progeny. Now, irreligion is the cause. Adharma. Adharma abhibhavat, Krishna. Abhibhavat means it becomes prominent. When irreligion becomes prominent, then the family unit crumbles. Huh? And if there are no men and if they are not trained properly, irreligion will creep in. And with irreligion, family units become disintegrated. And then the women become polluted. And then there will be unwanted population. What is unwanted population? From what is that? Illicit relationships, and also you know sex is not a private affair in a bedroom. It's a public, social, and spiritual responsibility. It is part of dharma when done properly. uh, what is that? Uh, धर्माविरुद्ध भूतेषु धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामेषु भरतर्षभा. Sorry, कामोस्मि, sorry. धर्माविरुद्धो भूतेषु कामोस्मि भरतर्षभा. Sex life which is not contradictory to religious principles is dharmic, is the representation of Krishna. What is sex life according to regulative principles? Only within marriage, for procreation, and responsible upbringing of the children thus produced. That is proper dharmic sex life. It is allowed, and it is how the world can run smoothly. But if it is not done that way, irreligion becomes prominent, and then the women become loose, and then there will be unwanted progeny who will be completely untrained in anything and cannot even be controlled. So, and these kinds of people are the ones who cause the problems. And now to have ministries to solve when the problem arises, oh, you have a broken family, okay, let us do this for you, some arrangement, and they won't be as invested in the welfare of um, the person who is suffering as a family member would be, right? The affection of a family for a person, it will of course be more than the governments. You can appoint government officers and have a ministry of, say, family services and all that. They can't be as invested in your life as your own family members, because that attachment. So that is the real way to maintain the social fabric of society. The family affection helps in that to an extent. And you see here, Sankaro narakayaiva kulaghnaanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro hyesham luptapindo dakakriyaha. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. See? The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. So the family welfare is even of those who have passed away, how to do welfare to them. Even that is also considered in our Vedic culture. दोषैरेतैः कुलघ्नानां वर्णसङ्करकारकैः उत्साद्यन्ते जातिधर्माः कुलधर्माश्च शाश्वताः. You see, kuлагнанам, the destroyers of family tradition, destroyers of family. Jati dharma, kula dharma. You see this, how Prabhupada translated. Jati dharma, community projects. Kula dharma, family traditions. So community projects are jati dharma, not this special ministry, centralized ministry to, how can you take care of everyone like that? Even Krishna does not do that. Krishna can do, of course, he can maintain anybody and everybody, but he maintains this creation through Gotra Dharma. Actually, I wrote an article in the previous magazine, which I have to publish on my Substack blog as well, um, which will be done in a couple of weeks' time, maybe 1 week's time. But you see, the Gotra Dharma, of course, it was already very long, the article, and I touched upon the spiritual aspect of Gotra Dharma, but actually, Gotra Dharma goes even deeper. Even the material way, how material universe or situation is maintained, also is from Gotra Dharma. Creation, maintenance, dissolution, everything is through Gotra Dharma. What do I mean by that? So, for example, if I have to produce cars, this is for creation, I'm telling an example of creation. If I have to produce cars, there is factory, centralized factory from which all the cars are coming out. That is how we can do it. The Lord does differently. He does not have one place where all the things are coming out from. He has a seed. Bijaham sarvabhutanam. So he puts forth the seed. And the seed fructifies into eventually a tree. And the tree has millions of fruits, or thousands or hundreds or whatever fruits. And then these fruits have seeds, and then those seeds are again creating by themselves, you see. Of course, the soul has to come into the seed, and it has to germinate and everything. But you see how it is not a centralized factory from which all the trees are coming out. No, it is seed, and then that one has descendants in that way. And same way with population. He's not creating people through one factory. One factory, all people are coming out from the factory. No, it is these family tradition. I mean family structures that is coming like that. So his creation is very different. So he does not personally, you can't see him personally having, managing a factory of creating people. No. He does it this way. This is called Gotra Dharma, you know, lineages. And that too, not just like cats and dogs, especially in human life. Not just to produce like cats and dogs, but also to train them properly. So anyway, these strings of, the community, when we say social fabric, society is like a fabric. What is a fabric made of? Threads, these strings intertwined. And that's how a fabric is made. So instead of seeing it like one thing, oh, let's create a department for this whole fabric, it's much more micro managed. At the same time, Krishna doesn't have to be there. Within each family, the affection that one has for the family members, they will themselves take care of themselves. So they are complete units in themselves, especially if done properly. If it is tied together with religion, then the entire structure will stay watertight. But when the religion becomes, loose, then everything, disintegrates. So, so creation, factory, that example, but maintenance also. You see here, by the evil deeds of those who destroy family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Devastated because you see this family welfare and community projects. These are what the governments, the culture, community, and youth. It used to be MCCY, Ministry of Culture, Community, and Youth. Now it's MCYS, a little bit differently coined. But anyway, it's the same thing. So these things cannot be a centralized. You can have a department. It's maybe the second best alternative, but that's not the way it should be done. Like you see, family welfare activities. Now you see so many welfare homes for the elderly because the elderly are thrown into the welfare homes. That's not how family. I mean, the elderly are supposed to be taken care of. They should be taken care of by the children, And eventually the man has to move out and take sannyas, and then he has to preach. So he stays in the association of sadhus and does not burdening the younger generation. At the same time, he is doing productive work in preaching Krishna consciousness to others. You know, this is how society has to be maintained. And those who are not brahmanas and sannyasis, they are still to be maintained by one's family members. How can you put them in a old age home somewhere? But that is how it is done nowadays. You see. So these are not proper. These are replacements or patchwork for an irreligious society who don't have morals, who think it is all right to throw the parents in an old age home, or to do sinful activities, meat eating and everything. And such structures are actually a sign of disintegration of society, not real jati dharma community projects, family welfare activities. These are through the family units themselves. For example, if a youth, you know, there is community projects of a community units of the government ministries which take care of disoriented youth and all that. But you see, in a family, if a youth is going on wayward, then the family, the immediate family, the elders and the relatives, everyone will come and try to counsel, hey, try to save that person from going wayward. So they will be more interested in the interest of the person than anybody else. Of course, it becomes convoluted, it becomes perverted when the child becomes Krishna conscious and the family is not. Then their protective nature, which is invested by the Lord Himself, is used adversely to further their sense gratification, and that's where the thing is becomes distorted. When the family affection is there, but the religion is not there. So family affection, yes, Krishna invests, and that's how He maintains. But if we don't tie that to religion, then the maintenance becomes adverse. Um, so that's how sinful activities become propagated in the family, and then eventually the whole thing disintegrates. So, we can see all these things. You see how Krishna maintains the whole thing, and we cannot imitate him at any time. Okay, so next verse. आस्ते व्यस्ते पिता माता मुखे दिल पानी सुस्थ हया को है प्रभु अपूर्व कहाँ अपूर्व काहिनी. After his father and mother sprinkled water on his mouth with great haste, the Lord revived and said something wonderful they had never heard before. एथा होते विश्वरूप मोरे लया गेला संन्यास करो तुम्हें आमारे कहिला. The Lord said, Vishwarup took me away from here and he requested me to accept the sannyas order. So while he fainted, this was what he was, seeing. His brother Vishwarup, you know, who's incarnation of Balram, who already took sannyas. In the previous session, we have seen that he has taken sannyas, and father and mother became very aggrieved, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pacified them. So Vishwarup took me away from here and he requested me to accept the sannyas order. Ami kahi amar anatha pita mata, ami balak sannyasera kiba jani katha. I replied to Vishwarup, I have my helpless father and mother, and also I am but a child. What do I know about the sannyas order of life? Grihastha ya karibo pita matar sevan, ihate tushta hoben Lakshmi Narayan. Later I shall become a householder and thus serve my parents. And for this action will very much satisfy Lord Narayan and his wife, the goddess of fortune. तबे विश्वरूप इहाँ पाठाइला मोरे माता के कहियो कोटि कोटि नमस्कारे. Then Vishwarup returned me home and requested, offer thousands and thousands of obeisances unto my mother Shachi Devi. এই মত নানা লীলা করে গৌর হরি কি কারণে লীলা ইহা বুঝিতে না পারি. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed various pastimes, but why he did so, I cannot understand. Purport: the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees who come to this world are executing a mission, and therefore sometimes they act in a way that is very difficult to understand. It is said, therefore, Vaishnaver Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bujhoy. Even if one is a very learned and intelligent scholar, he cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava accepts anything favorable for executing his mission. But foolish persons, not knowing the purpose of such exalted Vaishnavas, indulge in criticizing them. That is forbidden. Since no one can understand what a Vaishnava does for the purpose of executing his mission, to criticize such a Vaishnava is the offense called sadhu ninda. So there's a question here. Is Lord Nityananda an incarnation of Adishesh? In fact, Adishesh is an incarnation of Lord Nityananda. We will get to that. Okay, so um, this is very important. Ki karane lila iha bujhite na pare. Even Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who is a pure devotee, he could not understand why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did some things, could not understand. So, it is not for us to understand the Lord. We can understand as much as the Lord allows us to understand. He says, yes, Janma Karma Chame Divyam Evam Yo Vetti Tattvataha Tyaktva Deham Punarjanmana Iti Mameti Sorjuna. Whoever knows my birth and activities in truth, in depth, in reality, they will no more have birth and death. But how to understand Tattvataha, Krishna Tattvavetta? How can we become? It is not that we can understand the Lord entirely. No. How much He wants us to understand, how much He reveals, we can understand. And it is okay to not understand many aspects of the Lord. We cannot understand. Nobody can understand the Lord. Our understanding should lead us to service to the Lord. That is what is most essential. If I understand this way and that way and I don't serve the Lord, then I did not actually understand the Lord. Because if I know that the Lord is supreme and I am his subordinate, a subordinate's natural position is to serve the superior. And if I am not serving, I have no conviction in the fact that I am actually a servitor of the Lord. So what did I understand? So it is only lip service. It is very shallow. It is not very deep. It is hollow. So Vaishnaver Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bujhai. This is very important. You know, the activities of surrender. When one is surrendered to the Lord, his activities look very different. Although seemingly similar to worldly activities, they are also very, very different. And sometimes people can get bewildered. Like um, Sridhar Swami, for example, he took sannyas when his his wife died during childbirth, and he was left with a child. And Sridhar Swami just left the child and then took sannyas. Now the whole nobody in this world will praise that. Everybody would criticize that. Everybody. But when a person surrenders to the Lord, he has to surrender to the Lord so utterly that nothing else should matter. Now, now you may say, oh, then what is this? No responsibility. Then why did he give birth to a child? Why did he, father somebody? Of course, due to force of circumstances, he had to. But, as I know, I don't know if you know, but I've mentioned this a few times. So, Sridhar Swami actually was a brahmachari and he wanted to become sannyasi. His parents said, please get married. They were pressurizing him. And okay, he said, okay, I will marry, but then after that, I will take sannyas. And then he married. Then he told his wife, I will take sannyas. Wife said, "Arey, at least give me a child before you go, because, um, you know, then the woman can actually raise the child, with the family and all. So of course you may say, hey, how can you even ask if he marries? Then he should not take sannyas. What is this? Again, this is where we cannot understand the Lord or his devotees. Surrender to Krishna is so powerful, and it is so urgent that no material considerations should be thought of. And if somebody is doing that, we should not criticize that person. I may not be able to do it. I am not surrendered. That does not mean those who are surrendering, they are wrong. You see? And whenever a person surrenders, and it's not only this, many times, I'll give you a few more examples. Okay, so anyway, Sridhar Swami, she said, okay, please at least give me a child. Okay, then, she got pregnant, and then he waited for the childbirth. He said, okay, after the child is born, I will take sannyas. The child was born, his wife died during childbirth. Sometimes it happens like that, so it happened like that. And then he was left with the child. He was thinking, Krishna, what is this? What I wanted to become, and where am I now? How shall I? When shall I come to you? Then he saw one, lizard, baby lizard. He was sitting under this tree, and then the baby lizard fell. It was just very very small, and he fell, and then he was looking at the lizard, and the lizard found some small insect. He stuck out his tongue and ate the insect, and he went into the bushes. He saw, wow, Krishna is actually giving me a, he's pointing me to something. Here is the baby, just born, but Krishna has provided some food, and the lizard is living now, and it's continuing its life. So this child, my child, will also be maintained by Krishna. And he left the child and took sannyas. Now, of course, neighbors, family members, they raised the child. Um, but Sridhar Swami took sannyas and he became a great acharya. He commented on the Bhagavatam, which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself approved of. So, how can Chaitanya Mahaprabhu approve something which is so socially, you know, unacceptable thing? So, actually, the acceptable thing is surrender to Krishna. We have made it unacceptable because we don't want to surrender to Krishna. Anybody who surrenders, we cannot criticize. Now, let me tell you this, that surrender to Krishna is diametrically opposite to our material life. So when one surrenders to Krishna, it will of course be the opposite of material attachment and conventional understanding of morality. It will challenge all of that. It is diametrically opposite to that. When we become, brahmachari, or when somebody joins the temple, it looks like he's running away from his house, from his parents. He's not doing his duty, and that's how it looks. That's how surrender looks. Nobody has ever surrendered where mother and father, please, here, I am donating my son to Krishna. Very hardly you will see that. Very, very rare. Very rare. I don't say no, but very few. So, that is extremely rare. And unless a person actually understands and is a devotee, and even among devotees, many don't understand. They're devotees, but they're materially attached. They think surrender, and my son will, work outside and he will be devotee. Like that. Even devotees, they think like this. Very hard to find a devotee who wants his son to actually give up and become a devotee. Sundar was like that. He wanted his son to become a devotee. Full on. So that is very rare to see. Very rare. It is easy to criticize someone who surrender. The criticism is actually an offense. Sadhuninda. Vaishnaver Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bujhaya. So, when one surrenders, his activities will be seemingly opposed to morality. Prahlad Maharaj, he garlanded the killer of his father. Now, if anybody kills your father, will you garland that person? Morally, is that right? It's not. Prahlad Maharaj did that. He did not obey his father. Is that right morally? No. But what the father did, was that right? No. Um, so why should such a relationship be maintained and our relationship with Krishna be foregone or given up? And also, even if the father is not as bad as Hiranyakashipu, completely opposed. No, no, you should not chant Hare Krishna, this and that. Even if he doesn't do that, even if he's just materially attached, he wants to be with his son, or he wants the son to be with him. Even then, if one understands the importance of Krishna consciousness, in fact, it is the duty of the father to put the child in Gurukul and make him brahmachari, and hopefully not even marry. But of course, if he wants to marry, he can marry. That's another thing. So that's how the father should have done it. Father doesn't know. Now he's attached. But it is not that, oh, because he will become sad, so I have to give up my surrender to Krishna and make him happy, so called, for the time being. That is actually um, going against religious principles, but that is also cruelty. To save the father, I should rather make him uncomfortable for a while and let me surrender, and that surrender will actually make him happy eternally, because whole dynasty becomes happy. They become delivered by such surrender. It's okay if they don't. Just like a child, just because he's crying, we cannot stop him. I mean, stop instructing him or correcting him. Oh, he will feel sad if I don't give him this toy, or I don't give him this toffee, or I don't give him this and that. It's okay for the child to be sad for a while and cry for a while. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. Not that the child should be always pampered. Always the child should be smiling. Then when he grows up, he will cry because he doesn't know how to face life. Life is not going to be. See, childhood is a preparation for adulthood, right? Adulthood is not going to be such rosy. Everybody will come and pamper you. No, you will have a problem dealing with the person again. Because he has been pampered all his life. He never saw what is that, opposition to his whimsical desires. So he thinks life is like this. His life is not like that. Someday death will come and take away your loved one. That's not nice. That's painful. That doesn't feel nice. So life as it is, and even his dealings with others, nothing is going to be rosy and everything so nice, smiley, smiley. It's not going to be like that. So it's okay. For a higher lesson, he can be put in inconvenience. In fact, parents put their children in inconvenience by sending them to school. Materially speaking, right? The child is not interested, but the parents push. Oh, you are not scoring well. Okay, not only school, tuition also. That is also inconvenient for the child, and the parents pay for the putting the child in inconvenience. They pay the tuition teacher. They pay everything to inconvenience the child. Why? Because for his future convenience. But then their future is so short sighted, they only see for this life, and therefore they don't see the ultimate good. So, the ultimate good is to surrender to Krishna. Shreya. Shreya Uttamam. So, for that, if the parent, actually, although namesake it is parents, but if they're not mature, they're like children. If they're spiritually not mature, they're like children. They just throw tantrums. Oh, he's gone, he's going away from me. That's like a childish tantrum. He should understand that my child should go to Krishna. And if he doesn't understand that, that is something we have to teach him. And if he's not, they will not listen if you try to convince them. No. They will listen when they see that you are, you know, set in your principles, your convictions, and then they will come in line. Sometimes it has to be done that way. And if it has to be done, it has to be done. Whatever it is, we cannot compromise on the principle of surrender to Krishna. And even if I, in my current state, can't do it, I can't criticize those who are doing it. That's not my business. That's offensive. That's offensive not only to the devotee who is surrendering, that is offensive to Krishna, because that is the only instruction he actually spoke about in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vracha. You surrender to me utterly alone. So we are blaspheming the process of surrender itself. If we despise surrender itself, then what are we becoming devotees for? In Mukundamala Stotra, two verses are there. त्यजन्तु बान्धवाः सर्वे निन्दन्तु गुरवो जनाः तथापि परमानन्दो गोविन्दो मम जीवनम्. Let my relatives all abandon me and my superiors condemn me. Still, the supremely blissful Govinda remains my life and soul. चित्तं नैव निवर्तते क्षणमपि श्रीकृष्णपादाम्बुजान् निन्दन्तु प्रियबान्धवा गुरुजना गृह्णन्तु मुञ्चन्तु वा दुर्वादं परिघोषयन्तु मनुजा वंशे कलङ्कोऽस्तु वा तादृक्प्रेमधरानुरागमधुना मत्तायमानं तु मे. My mind cannot turn from Sri Krishna's lotus feet even for a moment. So let my dear ones and other relatives criticize me, my superiors accept or reject me as they like, the common people spread evil gossip about me, and my family's reputation be sullied. For a madman like me, it is honor enough to feel this flood of love of Godhead, which brings such sweet emotions of attraction for my Lord. In other words, I absolutely do not care. That is the attitude of a surrendered soul. He absolutely does not care for worldly opinion. He may be termed as a madman, so be it. He doesn't even mind that accusation. Oh, he's doing this and that, he can, he's putting his parents in anxiety, his family in anxiety. It doesn't matter. Let them say whatever they want. He doesn't give a damn. So this is an aspect, this is surrender. This is how surrender looks like practically. It's not going to be all this, you know, nobody. Nobody ever surrendered like that. Um, Even though sometimes parents accept, in the beginning it is hard for them to actually accept, but eventually they may accept. In the beginning it is hard. Um, this Narad Muni, his in his previous life he was a maid servant's son, and he had no father. He was just like nobody knew who his father was. So Prabhupada said that that is the kind of family he was in. The mother had nobody. That means what kind of character she was. But somehow or other, she was, submissive, and she served the devotees, and then he was also serving as a 5-year-old boy. At that time, he had the remnants. He heard them talking about Krishna, and he became attracted to that lifestyle. And eventually, his mother died out of a snake bite. And Narad Muni, how he viewed that. How did he view that death of his mother? Hmm, where is it? It's in the 1-6, I think, somewhere. Let me. You see how he viewed his mother's. You see here. Let me just. You see, I was the only son. Narad Muni is describing his previous life. I was the only son of my mother, who was not only a simple woman but a maid servant as well. Since I was her only offspring, she had no other alternative for protection. She bound me with the tie of affection. She wanted to look after my maintenance properly, but because she was not independent, she was not able to do anything for me. The world is under the full control of the Supreme Lord, therefore, everyone is like a wooden doll in the hands of a puppet master. When I was a mere child of 5 years, I lived in a Brahmana school. I was dependent on my mother's affection and had no experience of different lands. Once upon a time, my poor mother, when going out one night to milk a cow, was bitten on the leg by a serpent influenced by supreme time. I took this as the special mercy of the Lord, who always desires benediction for his devotees, and so thinking, I started for the north. You see, when his mother passed away, he took it as a special mercy of the Lord. Okay, he took me away, took her away. My only bond of affection he has taken away. And See, confidential devotees of the Lord see in every step a benedictory direction of the Lord. What is considered to be an odd or difficult moment in the mundane sense is accepted as special mercy of the Lord. Mundane prosperity is a kind of material fever, and by the grace of the Lord, the temperature of this material fever is gradually diminished, and spiritual health is obtained step by step. Mundane people misunderstand it. You know, even Srila Prabhupada said, um, um, his mother passed away when he was 14 or something. Uh, Prabhupada also took it as the mercy of the Lord because his father was very much into making him a devotee. But his mother was always pushing for him to become a barrister in London. Barrister means law, lawyer and all that. High court judge. In London, she wanted him to study law in London. Prabhupada's mother. So his father wanted him to become a devotee. He did not want him to become a mlecha. Go to London and become a mlecha there. So his father did not want that. So Prabhupada also took it as mercy when his mother passed away. So it's not that, oh, good thing, good riddance, my mother died. Not exactly that way. Spiritually, it is not out of hatred for the mother. It is just that Krishna has taken away this attachment to make me more focused. So this is how the Lord sees, the devotees see. That's why Vaishnava Kriya Mudra Vijnana Bujhoy. Maharaj Anga is another example. How he saw a very unfortunate position in a very interesting way, you see. 4:13:43. प्रायेणाभ्यर्चितो देवो ये प्रजा गृहमेधिनः कदपत्यभृतं दुःखं येन विन्दति दुर्भरम्. The king thought to himself, persons, because King Anga, his son was Vena, extremely cruel, incorrigible, and he could not discipline him in any way. He tried so many ways, but that boy was just irreligion personified. So the king thought to himself, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. You see, look at how he's taking it. I'm more unfortunate than them, who have no son. Because having no son, they will find themselves unfortunate. But having a bad son is even more unfortunate. It's more unbearable to have a son like this. Better than this is the position of having no son at all. He's thinking like that. So I'm very, unfortunate. Hmm. Then he says a sinful son causes a person's reputation to vanish. His irreligious activities at home cause irreligion and quarrel among everyone, and this creates only endless anxiety. So true, right? यतः पापीयसी कीर्तिर अधर्मश्च महान् नृणां यतो विरोधः सर्वेषां यत आधिर अनन्तकः कस्तं प्रजापदेशं वै मोहबन्धनमात्मनः पंडितो बहुमन्येत यदर्थाः क्लेशदा गृहाः. Who, if he is considerate and intelligent, would desire such a worthless son? Such a son is nothing but a bond of illusion for the living entity, and he makes one's home miserable. Okay, having said all this, next you see. Kadapatyam varam manye sadapatyachucham padat nirvidyet grihan martyo yat klesha nivaha griha. Then the king thought, a bad son is better than a good son. Because a good son creates an attachment for home, whereas a bad son does not. A bad son creates a hellish home from which an intelligent man naturally becomes very easily detached. You see how he's seeing a situation of having a bad son as so fortunate, um, because he has created a hellish home for me now, and it's easy for me to detach myself from all this. So, how can any materialist think like this? They cannot think. Recently there was this. podcast or some, there was this author of a book. He said, I think, what is the title of the book? Something like The Secret to Happiness or something. You know what his secret to happiness is? I mean, in gist. He says, see, how to be always happy, or, not be sad or not be frustrated or not be, how to always be happy. His answer is this. See, you should always strive for the best in life. Now he's a motive. I mean, through his life's experience, he came to a conclusion, and he thought that was the right thing, and he wrote a book about it, and people actually praise him for what he wrote, and you know, try to glorify him. But from a spiritual point of view, it completely misses the point. But anyway, his answer is this. See, we have to try doing our best, and we should do something good. Now, all these are vague definitions. Anyway, we should do something, good, not something like, not that I do best in robbing a bank. No, I do best in something good that I have to undertake. Although I should try for the best, um, if I am not, I should not. There are things that are beyond my control, and therefore, to have high expectations is the problem. Hmm? So, if my expectation levels are extremely low, when I especially depend on others for reciprocation, and if I expect too much of reciprocation from them and they don't give me, then I become unhappy. But if I have very low expectations everywhere, anything that is above and beyond that is a bonus, and that'll be a surprise, and that's how he can be happy. Then he was asked the question, okay, if that is the case, if you have very low expectations, so where is the drive? Like, how do you do anything with a drive? Like, if I say I want to play some sports, if I don't have the drive to become the greatest champion, if my expectations are very low, that maybe just I'll, play for a while and come on, then how can I even excel in something? How can I do anything properly if there is no hunger and thirst or drive for that thing? He says, no, no, you should try your best, but then that is the process you have to enjoy. But whether you will get this result, get that result, those expectations should be out of the window. Something like karmana devanetrena, what is it? Not karmana devanetrena. What is that? 247? How did I forget? um, wait. Famous verse everybody quotes in India. Karmanyevadhikaraste, sorry. Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Yeah. But to offer to Krishna, that is not there in the equation. It is just, or just do, and then don't expect those results. Just enjoy the process of doing it, and give it your best, and enjoy the process. That is happiness. Don't attach your happiness to the titles and to the medals and all those accolades. Just enjoy the process of doing it, and do it to your best. And when dealing with others, have the least expectations from them. In that way, you will always be happy. But if your expectations are super high, and then the result comes like, not at all satisfactory to that, then you will start to have problems in your relationships. You will feel always, unhappy. So this is his answer. So basically, what I'm hearing is this: compromise. You can't be actually completely happy. Just set your base level of happiness to very low, and if anything comes beyond that, be happy with that. This is a compromise. The actual answer is yes, you should never settle for paltry happiness in this material world. And why should you settle to low expectations? Yes, you should have absolute. In fact, you should not expect anything. Amanina manadena. You have to respect everyone, but expect zero respect from others. In fact, expect insult. And in fact, Not just expect insult, look forward to the insults, because they will ground you. You know, amanina manadena kirtaniya sadahari. So that is our philosophy. But you can't have just that, because then where is the happiness? Like, where is the reciprocative happiness? I can achieve something and that happiness, but alone, what is the meaning of all these achievements if I can't have a relationship with someone? Without having a relationship, we cannot be happy. That's just not possible. It is just that with whom we have that relationship. If we have with materialistic people or anything other than Krishna, it's going to be miserable, more or less, but it will be miserable. So our relationship with me should be to Krishna, with Krishna. What is it? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he wrote, um, life without love, life without love is poor and useless, they say. Life without love is poor and useless, they say. O Lord, employ me in thy service with love as my pay. So he's saying, oh, people usually say, you have no love in your life. Your life is poor. You don't have. People think, if you don't have a girlfriend, if you don't have a wife, they are what? You're not living your life. So this is what they say. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, he offered the same thing. Actually, it is from Chaitanya Charitamrita. Employ me in your service. He's asking Krishna, with love as my pay. Let me be rich in the real love. Now, if you have a monopoly money, that monopoly game, if you have millions of dollars of that money, how rich are you? You are poor. So it is just a game. So I don't want that money. I don't want that riches. I want the real money, the real happiness, which is Krishna Prema. To see Krishna happy is my happiness. That is what I want to have. So our solution to happiness, secret to happiness, is not just have low expectations and just don't expect anything from this, and then just live a compromised life. No, we should have the access. We should have access to the highest thing, the attachment to which will give us the strength to reject all. Will give us the strength to have these low level expectations from anyone. In fact, no expectations. Not even low. Low is a wrong thing. No expectations from this world. We should have nothing to do with this world, because we're already satisfied in something else. When that thing is missing, when there is a vacuum there, then we want validation from our relations in this world. And that's where the reciprocation comes, the reciprocation factor comes in. But if our reciprocation is with the Lord, if the Lord, if we have a reciprocation with the Lord and the devotees, then we don't need anything else in this world. We don't expect anything. And that is the real only way to happiness, to be connected with Krishna. And there is the highest. That relationship is never lost, never deteriorates. If it at all deteriorates, it's on my side. Krishna never deteriorates the relationship. In fact, he's always coming to revive the relationship which we have deteriorated. But the deterioration only happened in our side of the relationship. On the Lord's side, the relationship never deteriorated towards us. Only from our side, the reciprocation towards the Lord is zero. The Lord never forgot us. He has been maintaining us all these lifetimes, even though we have forgotten Him. He's sitting in our heart just beside us, waiting for us to come back. So the Lord never forgot us. We have forgotten Him. So we have to revive that relationship. That is the real standard of, or the way to happiness. So all this, I mean, there are many examples like this. Ramanujacharya took sannyas because his wife offended his one of his gurus, who was coming from Shudra family. He came, he wanted some food. She gave him, in a plate and made him eat outside the house, like they would treat a Shudra. When he came to know of that, he became so angry, but he did not say anything to his wife. He said, okay, you take a holiday in your parents' house. I have to travel and preach, so I will not be here. So it's not good for you to stay alone. You go and stay in your parents' house for this about a month or so. She said, okay, okay, I'll go. She went. Ramanujacharya took sannyas and left home for good and never saw his wife again. I mean, you may say, come on, at least he can be honest, right? He can be upfront about it. I will take sannyas. Which wife will agree? Which wife will agree to, oh, yes, yes, you are doing good thing, take sannyas, please? Hardly you will get a wife like that, right? So he said, why conflict? So sometimes these are transcendental frauds. Fraud, yes. There was some seeming dishonesty, right? But that's totally fine when it is for Krishna. These are transcendental frauds. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, when yes, he said, oh, I will be grihastha, I will marry and this and that. Then what happened? Just like he married, of course, his first wife passed away, and the next wife he married, and then soon after he took sannyas. What is the meaning of such a married life? Oh, if he has married, he should stay. Why did he show an example like this? What will happen? Who everybody will follow him, and everybody will, do like this. There will no more be a family life properly. He set a bad example. Who are we to criticize? Who are we to criticize? Instead of taking the thing that how difficult it is to actually give up such family life, and he has done it, and he has shown the importance of taking renouncing this material attachment even at such young age. Instead of glorifying that, every time find the fault, and um, in that way we cannot advance. Sorry, we cannot advance like that. We have to see the goods. That is the meaning of hamsa. Hamsa means to take the good side of things, not to see it in a distorted fashion and see the bad side and go the other direction. We should see what is essence. What is the essence of this whole thing? Is maintaining a family more important than surrendering to Krishna? You may say, no, no, both are important. If you're grahastha, you must do. For a normal person, yes. For a person who is ready to surrender, nothing else matters. What is that verse? Srimad Bhagavatam. Nakinkaro ranicharajan sarvatmanaya sharanam saranyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. देवर्षिभूताप्तनिर्णां पितॄणां न किङ्करो नायं ऋणीचराजन् सर्वात्मनायः शरणं शरण्यं गतो मुकुन्दं परिहृत्य कर्तम्. O king, one who has given up all material duties and has taken full shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, who offers shelter to all, is not indebted to the demigods, great sages, ordinary living beings, relatives, friends, mankind, or even one's forefathers who have passed away. Is not indebted. He is not no more a rini. Since all such classes of living entities are part and parcel of the Supreme Lord, one who has surrendered to the Lord's service has no need to serve such persons separately. All the family affection, the family units, and all these things should lead us to Krishna consciousness. And once coming to Krishna consciousness, no more required all of that. It's not exactly hatred towards them. It is not at all hatred. It is not affection, it's not hatred. It is transcendental. To become detached from that. Detachment is different from hatred. Hatred is still attachment. It is called negative attachment. Because when I really hate someone, I will be thinking of that person always. How can I, make his life miserable? Or how he is trying to poison, my life, trying to influence my life, and he's doing this. I should do this to him. I'm always thinking of that person. Hatred is attachment, negative attachment. Whereas, affection is positive attachment, like favorable attachment to that person. But both are attachment. Detachment means apathetic to both. There's no hatred, there is no love. Ichha, dvesha, both are no more. So that is different from hatred. And it is not exactly going against the parents. No, it is not exactly going against the parents. It is going for Krishna. That's it. It is not going against someone. It is going for Krishna. And if somebody is against that, now my activities of surrender to Krishna will seem against those persons who are against me surrendering to Krishna. Now, that may be their vision that I am against them, but I am not against them. I am for Krishna. So that is what surrender is. So Prahlad Maharaj was not against Hiranyakashipu. He was not. He was for Krishna. So when Narasimhadev killed him, he asked Narasimhadev to please liberate his father. If he was against, if he hated his father, he would not have asked that. Narasimhadev, you are supreme. Make sure that my father is rotting in hell for the next millions and billions of years. He did not say that. That would have been hatred. That would have been hatred. But that's not. Prahlad Maharaj, what did he say? Please liberate my father. So that is love for Krishna. And it only appears that he was against his father because the father was against him. He was not against his father. So that is called Ajata Shatru. Sadhu, Yudhishthir Maharaj was Ajata Shatru. Means he has no enemies. What is Sadhu's Bhushana or ornaments? What are they? Titikshavaha karunikah suhridah sarvadehinam ajata shatravah shantah sadhavah sadhu bhushanah. The symptoms of a sadhu are that he is tolerant, merciful, and friendly to all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful and he abides by the scriptures, and all his characteristics are sublime. So why Vaishnavar Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bujhoy? Why do people do not understand the activities of Vaishnava? Because they see his activities from their mundane, colored perspective. For example, the moon on the branch of a tree, the example is there. I do not know if there is a, let's see. Okay, this is एक दिन जत होय भावेर विकार सहस्र मुखे वर्णे जदि नाहि पाए पार. Even Anantadev, who possesses thousands of mouths, cannot fully describe the ecstatic transformations that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu experienced in a single day. जीवदीन की करिबे ताहार वर्णन शाखा चंद्र न्याय करि दिग्दर्शन. Shakha Chandra Nyaya. Yeah, this is the logic. Shakha Chandra Nyaya. What can a poor creature like me describe of those transformations? I can give only a hint of them as if showing the moon through the branches of a tree. Now this Shakha Chandra Nyaya can be applied in many contexts. So one is that we can see the moon as if sitting on a branch of a tree, as a glowing bulb that is sitting on the branch of a tree. But that is my vision of the moon. The moon has nothing to do with the tree. It is so far above. But from my vision, it appears that the moon is sitting on the branch of a tree. This is Shakha Chandra Nyaya. So, from my perspective, I can see a certain way and I may describe it in that way. That it may not be the reality at all. So, similarly, when we see especially the activities of a Vaishnava in relation to Krishna, so sometimes it is bewildering. Vaishnavar Kriya Mudra Vigyahana Bujhai, because as I told you, you will see that some people oppose the activities of a Vaishnava, of the activities of surrender, and when the person, without paying heed to such advice of such persons who are advising him against Krishna consciousness, if he does not pay heed and if he just goes on surrendering to Krishna, he's not exactly against those people who are ill advising him, but he just doesn't bother them, or it looks like he doesn't care for them, but that's not a fact. So from my perspective, I may see that, oh, he's going against his parents. What if I say that the parents are going against him and going against Krishna, which is more important? Because they are duties to make him surrender to Krishna. Bhagavatam says, don't become a father otherwise. Why did you become a father? If you cannot allow your child to become surrendered to Krishna, why did you become a father? You have committed sin by doing so. That is the reality. But the child, by surrendering, he is purifying his parents also. Parents may not be happy. So what? Is my duty to satisfy my so-called parents? Put it another way, is my duty to satisfy my so-called parents' illusory desires and offensive desires, or should I actually surrender to Krishna and help them by purifying them? That okay, even if they did not want, they have donated their son to Krishna, so that donation will not go in vain. So they will get the benefit. Yeah, they may not like it, but they will get the benefit. So actually, that is the reality. So sometimes when we don't see it from the perspective of surrender, then surrender looks very, very different, and we may commit offenses. But we should not be very quick to judge Vaishnavas. Judge ourselves. Put that fault finding nature to yourself. That will be a much better investment, because I am nowhere close to being a judge of Vaishnavas. Let's not try to do that. And it is Maryada Vyatikrama trying to advise Vaishnavas, oh, you should not do like this. Why did you do like that? Especially when they surrendered. And some people, I mean, when I was trying to, think of becoming a brahmachari, there were some devotees who were coming to the temple. They were advising me, see, you are a young boy. You are only 19 years old. You have not seen life. We know. We are 40, 50 years old, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old. So there were about a panel of 50 people trying to advise me. The day I spoke to Sundagopal Prabhu, and he asked me to stay in the temple and go to college, and inspired me to go to the college until I finish it, and I join full time. That was a conversation I had with Sundagopal Prabhu one evening, and after that I went to we used to have this Annadan place where everybody can come and eat. $2 you pay, and then you can eat as much as you like. So I always used to go there and have prasadam. So after he spoke to me, I was so inspired. I was thinking, okay, next day I'm going to come with all my bags and like stay in the temple. So with that inspiration, I went to that place and was having prasadam, and 50 people came. Literally 50 people. And they said, hey, what did Prabhu speak to you? What did Prabhu speak to you? There was some undercurrent going on in the temple at that time. So they said, what did Prabhu say? He spoke to you for so long, because none of them actually speak to Prabhu for that long. They only speak to him like bits and pieces, and as quickly as possible go away from there. That's their attitude towards Prabhu. Whereas I was very comfortable with Prabhu, and he also inspired me a lot. He was the one who I was only theoretically thinking about a monk's life, even before Krishna consciousness, kung fu, monk or whatever. But I never really practically did anything about it. So he was the one who pushed me to it. So when they say, what did he say? What did he say? So I said, no, Prabhu has asked me. I very happily told him, Prabhu asked me to stay in the temple, and go to college. He allowed me to stay in the temple. In fact, he asked me to do so. I did not even plan that. Prabhu asked me. So then they said, see, take it a little slow. He's a nice person, he's a Vaishnav, yes, but you are a young boy. Your father and mother sent you here to study and have a good job, good salary, and have a nice family. And then when you have children, everybody Krishna conscious, wife Krishna conscious, and other people see you, they become inspired, they also want to join. You can preach like that also. It is not necessary you should join. And also, let me tell you, they were telling like this. Let us tell you this, that you do not know. There were some devotees who joined before, and now they're no more with temple. You know, things happened. You know, so what if something happens to you one day? One day you have to leave the temple for whatever reason. Then where you will go? You will have no money. You will have no job. You will have no experience. You know, after maybe 10, 15, 20 years, some people left. Like, what happened? What will happen if that happens to you? Think about your future. We are concerned for you. We are advising you. Please take it seriously. We actually wish your welfare. I was not in the least interested to hear any of that. I was not, but I wasn't as confident then of presenting myself because I was just 19. My conviction was strong that I have to join, but how to counter their arguments, I did not know. Um, so, in my heart, I did not like what they said. Um, and even if things happen to others or whatever it is, it doesn't matter. My life is my life. What happened with them, I do not know. But my life is my life. If you start to think, what if this, what if that happens, what if that happens, what if suddenly my parents get sick and there's nobody to take care of them. So what if this happens, what if that happens? If you think of what ifs, you will never surrender. Surrender means no matter what, that is when we'll surrender. If we start to think what if, then we will not surrender. If we say no matter what, I'm not changing my decision. No matter what happens on the other side, my family or I don't care, I will surrender. Then only we can do it. And so what happened? I did not take heed of their advice. Next day, I came with my bags and started staying in the temple. Now, one of them, at least, others also in a different way, but one of them exactly he said this. Oh, after they spoke to me for about 1 hour plus, you know, trying to advise me not to, join. I said, so he said, oh, after so much advice, you still came and stayed. You're just a immature child. You don't know. You're just going with your instincts and you're not thinking far. Anyway, um, I'll give you 2 months. That's how long you'll be able to live here because it's not easy. And not just not easy, but because it's tough to be devotee or what. You will see things, and let me tell you, I'll give you 2 months. That's what he told me. Well, the 2 months is almost now 20 years. And that person lasted maximum of 3 months after that. Nowhere to be seen after that. He left the temple. So, moral of the story, don't try to criticize people who are surrendering. Don't criticize the process of surrender. And don't criticize those who are inducing others to surrender. If you do any of this, Krishna will throw you far, far away. Don't ever do that. I may not understand. So I should become humble and pray to Prabhupada and Krishna and seek clarification from the devotees. How can I understand this? How do I make sense of this? My mind is so fallen and crooked that I'm not able to make sense of this. Please explain this. And don't ask it in a sarcastic way. Actually mean it. I'm not able to understand this. How is it okay? If you see, what is the reputation that devotees had? Arjuna, he killed his family members for Krishna. Is that a good example? Oh, tomorrow Arjuna, everybody will follow Arjuna's footsteps and kill family members for Krishna. Did anybody do that? Nobody did that. And that was not the example that was set. His example was anything that Krishna says. That is the example he set. He was not hating his family and therefore killed them. He killed them in a dharma yuddha, and that too very justified cause. And that too he did not want it personally, and Krishna wanted it, and he just did it for Krishna. Karishye vachanam tava. That's it. So how is that a bad example? So if we look at bad example like that, everything is a bad example. Gopis were a bad example, dancing with Krishna other than their husband. They danced with him. Arjuna was a bad example, right? Draupadi was a bad example. She had 5 husbands. Oh, everybody will follow. Who followed? Nobody followed. Nobody said that Draupadi. Even if they say, they cannot imitate Draupadi. Who are they and who is Draupadi? Personally protected by Krishna. He gave the sari to her. So, I mean, are we in a position of Draupadi even? And of course, her circumstances are different. So, where is a good example? You tell me. All these examples are like that. Bhishma Dev, he did not marry. And, and later on, what is that? When the Draupadi was being disrobed, he did not say anything. Is that a good example? No. And he played that part because he wanted to play the part where Krishna will teach a lesson that even a person of the caliber of Bhishma Dev, who's a Mahajan, if he does not follow, he is also to be killed. No compromise with principles. So different lessons Krishna is teaching through different associates of his. So good example, if you want to find any surrender, will look, it will not look good from a materialistic point of view. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was surrendering, Sachimata could not take it. And if you see from social perspective, his wife was 16 years old, mother was 70 years old, widow, 2 women in the house like that, and he left and took sannyas. Zero considerations. That's what it means. He did not hate his mother or his wife. He just took sannyas. And if sometimes negative attachment leads to detachment, that is good. So if sometimes the wife is not cooperative, and the person takes sannyas because of that, that's good. Somehow or other he became detached. Either way. And eventually by associating with devotees, his attachment to Krishna will even more strengthen, and then that will what is that? Transcend into detachment. So these things are um, to be understood. So don't ever try to judge. Vaishnavar Kriyamutaj Vijnana Bujhai. We cannot judge like that. We can understand the activities of Vaishnava to an extent sometimes if we accept the principles of Krishna consciousness. If we only do lip service to the acceptance of the principles of Krishna consciousness, but actually don't imbibe them and don't yearn for them, I want to surrender to Krishna. But what does surrender look like? Well, here is an example. How would you react to that? Krishna will put us on the spot. Did I understand what to surrender? Maybe I did not. And that's why I'm criticizing those who surrender. So, unless I surrender or I'm willing to surrender, I will not understand the activities of surrender of another person. And of course, the high, those who are in Raganuga devotees, like their activities can't even be understood by ordinary devotees. Like ecstatic symptoms and all this. These are even more difficult to understand. But even the very fact of a person becoming a neophyte devotee, I mean surrendering to the process of devotional service, the beginning of surrender, even that people cannot understand. But if we understand what is surrender, then we will understand how to see in the right perspective. And if I'm not clear, I should clarify this with those who are surrendered. Otherwise, I'm committing offense, I'm damaging my own spiritual life. And nothing is going to happen to that person who is surrendered, or who is surrendering, or who is inducing another person to surrender. But if I offend any of those three, I will be destroyed. What is that? What did Raghunath Das Goswami say? वैराग्ययुग्भक्तिरसं प्रयत्नैर् अपाययन्माम् अनभीप्सुमन्धं कृपाम्बुधिर्यः परदुःखदुःखी सनातनस्तं प्रभुमाश्रयामि. I was unwilling to drink the nectar of devotional service, possessed of renunciation. But Sanatana Goswami, out of his causeless mercy, made me drink it, even though I was otherwise unable to do so. Therefore, he is an ocean of mercy. He is very compassionate to fallen souls like me, and thus it is my duty to offer my respectful obeisance unto his lotus feet. This how important this verse is. See, We are not interested in surrender. And the devotees, they force us to surrender. And sometimes that pushing, people don't like it. People don't like to be pushed into surrender. But that is what will help. Nobody surrenders by themselves. They may have, attraction or some attachment, but to surrender, it needs some pushing. You see, here he's saying, I was unwilling to drink it, but he made me drink it. So this pushing is necessary. Yeah. And sometimes it is harsh, but that is what is mercy. That is why he's called ocean of mercy, Kripam Budhir. That is called Kripam Budhir. Sometimes devotees are accused. Oh, I've heard that you have induced him to, run away from his home. Actually, recently something like that happened. Uh, one Mataji actually, she, know, married one devotee, and initially, she came out of the house and eventually married. So even devotees were perplexed. Um, how come temple is inducing to do this, inducing her to do this? It was not inducing, you know, it was of course her decision. But we do have conversations, right, about how to surrender, and sometimes we do make plans, how to come out. That is not conspiring against the family or nothing like that. It is to help the devotee surrender. That's it. You can't blame the temple for doing that. Once you do that, you have committed a grave offense, a very grave offense. It's not an ordinary offense. Because that is the only thing we should be doing, surrender to Krishna. And if we despise or if we vilify that, and people who are inducing people, oh, they're conspiring, they are, destroying a family, that's not what we're doing. We are saving that family. Okay? So please get it right. And if you don't get it right, get clarification from the devotees to understand the thing properly. Otherwise, it's very dangerous. The devotees, especially when they're surrendering, they know exactly what they're doing. They know exactly what they're doing. We don't know what we're doing, and we comment on people who know what they're doing. This is the problem that we have. What is the time? 10 o'clock already. Okay. Okay, so this is, we will read next on. Until 22nd we have done. So I think we'll stop it here. Any questions or comments on this verse and topic? I will take them now. Let's see. 4:13:31 and 4:14:43 seems contradictory. Could you kindly brief on the same? So 4:13:31. Sadasas Patayah Uchu. The head priest said, O king, in this life you do not find any sinful activity even within your mind, so you are not in the least offensive. But we can see that in your previous life you performed sinful activities due to which, in spite of your having all qualifications, you have no son. Okay. This is 4:13:31. 4:14:43 or 4:13:43? 4:14:43, is it? I think you meant 4:13:43. Please clarify it in the comments. Yeah, I think you meant 4:13:43. Okay, so last life you had some this thing because of which you have no son. And 43 he says, persons who have no son are certainly fortunate. They must have worshipped the Lord in their previous lives so that they would not have to suffer the unbearable unhappiness caused by a bad son. See, there's nothing contradictory. So now the thing is, usually, materially speaking, putrahinam graham shunyam. So materially, it is good to have a son because putra pinda prayojanam. Because if a father goes to hell or something, if he has a son, that son will do the pindadan, pinda shraddha ceremony, and the father can stay in the um, pitraloka, where at least he will not fall down to hell. So who have no son, that is a bit of an unfortunate situation for such a person, for a karmi. So in that estimation, yeah, it is a little bit sinful activities. But even if a person was such sinful in his previous life, due to whatever reason, today he has no son in this life. But if he becomes a devotee, it can be maybe the result of his previous sinful action. But because he will know how to use it for his spiritual advancement, he will consider that as a fortunate position. So now in the 4:13:43 though, he's saying, so he's lamenting his current position. So at one point he was so anxious to get a son. Now he has a son who is, a problem. Then he said, better than this is to have no son at all. So, but then he thought, okay, actually, because of this son, I have now zero interest in family life anymore. I'll renounce this whole thing and get up. So that is, of course, the highest. Hitvatmapatam grihamandhakupam vanam gato yad dharimashrayeta. Hmm. Uh, so that is the whole point. What is that? 755. So transcendentally, if you look at it, this is much more better. तत्साधु मन्ये सुरवर्यदेहिनां सदा समुद्विग्नधियामसद्ग्रहात् हित्वात्मपातं गृहमन्धकूपं वनं गतो यद्धरिमाश्रयेत. I do not know why. There is some kind of a delay or what? I'm trying to show this comment and somehow. Okay, it's kind of showing now. Okay. So here, why is it like becoming. I don't understand. It's acting weird. It's acting a little weird. So anyway, Prahlad Maharaj replied, "Oh, best of the asuras, king of the demons, as far as I have learned from my spiritual master, any person who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety because of having fallen in a dark well where there is no water but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest, Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent. One should thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." So the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita is all about renouncing our material attachments. Uh, so it's going to be, you know, against material life. So it's bound to be that. But anyway, your question was that how is this both contradictory? But actually, there's nothing contradictory there. Mm. This is the consideration of a devotee. He can see materially, yeah, no son, not so good, but spiritually, it doesn't matter at all. In fact, sometimes it is better. Actually, it is not exactly better in that way. Huh? What it is any situation will be okay for a devotee. You see, this. Do you see something wrong with this? This comment, how the way the comment is being shown, like one thing overlapping on another. Is that how you all see it? It's very weird. I don't know why it's doing that. Doesn't even sometimes allow me to show the comment even. Now it is like very bright. This is how it should be showing. I don't know whatever happened just now. Again, my name is behind there. I don't know. It's quite weird today. This comment display on the screen. Now you see. I don't know what is happening. Let me just take a screenshot of that. Okay. I have to contact the support. For you, it seems like nothing is wrong. Interesting. Okay. But now you see, I have already taken it out, but still you can see for some reason. I don't know. I can see like that. I don't know how you're seeing it. Okay, anyway, I'll just go on, move on to the next question. I'm unable to again show it. Krishna. The common thing is not. Okay. I was bullied and dragged in school and colleges for having interest in religion. Master, my academic and professional career has been completely destroyed. I have fallen down from dharma. I try to chant more than 27,000 holy names every day and recite 6 chapters of Gita every day. Master, kindly pray to Lord Hari so that I can get a place at Vaikuntha Golok after death forever. Hmm. So it's good you chant 16 rounds. So you become a nice devotee, and that's what is necessary. I don't know. I'm showing one comment. It is showing the previous comment. I don't know what is happening with this. Kindly bless me so that I chant 1 lakh holy names every day and can get a chance to serve Vaishnavas, Brahmins, and cows. See, we should follow the instructions of the spiritual master. It's okay to chant 1 lakh names, which is 64 rounds, but don't do it in solitude because, like that, your pride will increase. So we should not be showing off our numbers. Um, saying that I'm doing this much, I want to do that much, and um, that will become pride. So, what you should be doing is associate with devotees and learn humbly the process of surrender, engage in all sorts of services under the guidance of devotees. Um, and that's how we should become a humble devotee. Otherwise, our devotional services will be, we should not advertise our devotional services. Um, so, it will be the cause of false pride. So anyway, we should not be doing what we want to do. We should be doing what we should work under authority. There should be an authority on us. Otherwise, we are just we are wild horse. For you all, it's perfectly fine. It's very surprising to me because I am not seeing it that way here. See, I'm showing another one. Now it is going to. I don't know how you all see it. For me, it's very different. Something wrong with on my side. So Manu Das is asking, my brother-in-law and sister were advising me for 6 hours to not go to the Philippines. They spoke just like the devotees you described. They spoke that how can God take you away and you work as a slave? This is the thing. Family becomes a problem when one surrenders to Krishna, and that is part of it. Mirabai, another example of not following the family, this thing. Surrender never looks glamorous, at least materially. Spiritually, it's glamorous. I mean, it is very attractive, but materially, it doesn't look glamorous. It looks dirty. It looks hmm, questionable. It looks that is only when seen from the material perspective. From the spiritual perspective, it's absolutely the cleanest thing you can ever do in your life, in your entire material stay in the material world. It's the cleanest thing you've ever done, but because we have come from the dirty, material world for a long time, so people who are still with that vision will see it as something which is dirty, not clean, not done properly. How can you do like that? How can she do like that? How can he do like that? These things will come. But actually, it's the cleanest thing you've ever done. So don't even bother these distorted opinions of people. You just have to surrender. All right, so that's the end of the comment section. Okay, Manu Prabhu has shared something here. How can you work as a slave without pay or recognition? You will be poor. Now you're dependent like a stupid, foolish baby. They said that they don't believe in a God that make you dependent like this. Well, you're always dependent on God. Even if you earn your millions of dollars, you're still dependent on God. If God thinks that if God once says that, okay, I'm no more going to give any more of grains to these people, then we are dead. Forget about grains. Our whole body, we don't even know how it is functioning. We are dependent on the laws of nature created by God again. So, how are we not dependent? So, Samata Lol, I don't know how to pronounce your name. I'm a girl, can't join temple, but I want to surrender right this moment. What I must do? Hmm. Yeah, you can. No, no, don't, Manu Prabhu, you don't send your WhatsApp number. You're saying you want to send your WhatsApp number, don't do that. So she has to contact the Matajis. Um, I will. I can't do much from my side. You can. What to do? Is there a kind of Mataji's group or something? I think Manu Prabhu shouldn't be. That's not proper. So Mataji should contact her. If anybody Mataji is here in the class, maybe she can contact her somehow or other. Somebody can offer that in the comment section, maybe Rajeshwari Mataji or somebody, and then pass the contact to the senior Matajis or whoever can guide. And then from there, you can be guided. Yeah, we want to surrender even immediately now and then, but sometimes we don't even know what surrender has in store for us. So sometimes we have the desire, but we may not be exactly ready. Or it's just the Lord's will that maybe He will make you wait and make you more eager for surrender. So we can do whatever. I mean, we can think that I want to do this, I want to do that, but we have to pray to the mercy of the devotees, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Krishna, Srila Prabhupada. So I suggest you contact the Matajis. Maybe some of the Matajis can offer that. At least take the contact, and then after that, um, pass it to whoever Matajis. So in that way we can contact. I think I don't know if there's a group link, chat group. Yes, Prabhuji. I try every day, but don't know what surrender exactly like. So yeah, so surrender starts with Shravanam, Kirtanam, um, and that means hearing and chanting, reading Prabhupada's books, and associating with devotees, That's how Ādau Shraddha, Tato Sadhu Sangha, Atha Bhajana Kriya, Atha Anartha Nivritti. So this is the process in which devotional service develops. Um, so you just pray ardently to Krishna like that, like what you're praying, and as you contact the devotees and actively at least start some service. Surrender will not, like, Krishna also wants to see. Okay, you want to surrender? Okay, fine. Show some interest. So that would mean, okay, even if I'm currently not in the position of complete surrender, I should take whatever comes my way in the matter of service. So if not just comes my way, I should go out of my way to actually seek such opportunities of service. So if you contact the devotees, they will, you know, make you, participate in seva. Some seva can be online, for example, like what is that? From like on video editing, graphic design, and these are two main things. But even otherwise, there are other things also you can help out with from an online perspective. Especially media, social media is very important now because that's how we can reach the masses. So we have to make content, and we have a lot of content, and we need editors to, even if you do not know how to edit, it doesn't matter. I never knew how to edit. I just wanted to do it. I just learned it on the fly, started doing it. Mm. And that's how I edited whatever videos I edited on my channel. So everybody can learn these things. It's not a big thing. So you can learn these things and start, implementing these things and participating in the seva here, and in that way you can this thing. Okay, so Jayant is saying, I do all this, but still I can't overcome porn addiction. I have been doing bhakti from 1 year. Well, you just should not do it. You know, you should not do it. Um, how can you be addicted to porn and then do bhakti? Your mind will not be proper. So you have to give that up. That is rubbish. That porn. You just have to give it up. That's it. And then take the time to read Prabhupada's books. That's it. That's all you have to do. You have to do that. Otherwise, it's going to be. You can't, do both at the same time. Your Krishna consciousness will plummet. So you have to give up that. There's no question because you will be a pervert after that. Otherwise, porn addict means that is pervert nature. So we should give up that. Absolutely no space for that. It's a red line. You cannot cross that. So yeah, you have to associate with devotees. So why don't you associate with some devotees somewhere? I don't know which part of India you're from. Maybe you can associate with the devotees in Puducherry. Start there, but you can't continue with your addiction because people will be wary of keeping you in the temple even because if your resume is like that, then you can be a problem there. So either way, you have to give up that and you know take to Krishna consciousness because what are you going to get from sex? What do you get from watching sex? Your dosha, Ayurveda, it is said your doshas will become disordered. Your health will become disorderly just by looking at sexual activities. So uh, this is um, this is something which is very pervert in nature. So you have to understand that this is completely. You have to give up that. You just don't entertain that thought anymore. You just have to stay away from it, no matter what. Determination means okay, no matter what, I'm just not going to do it. That's it. Like how did we leave meat eating? I mean, for me, I was fortunate enough not to touch meat in my life. But for those who had eaten meat, how did they give up? Okay, it's a decision. Okay, I should not do it. That's it. Yeah, but my taste, but my tongue, but my this. No, no, there's no chance for that. That's it. I'm just giving it up. It's sinful. Poison means poison. Whether it's sweet and nice to taste, it doesn't matter. It's poison means it's poison. I have to give it up. That's it. And I have to associate with devotees to keep myself strong. But in order to qualify myself to associate with devotees, which devotee will allow me to associate with them? If I am going to endanger others' existence, if I have a twisted addiction in my head, so I should qualify myself, and for that I have to give up this thing. Understand? Okay. So you're in Vizag. Yeah, you can go down then. Associate with devotees there. Okay, so all right, I'll end the class here. Thank you all very much. We'll meet again. We have revived these classes again because now Janmashtami is over. That whole the fever, Janmashtami fever is over. So now we can resume our classes and other projects also on the media side, which I'm very eagerly looking forward to. So thank you all very much. हरे कृष्णा चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल. There's somebody who is this Arunava Biswas. Master, I'm living among materialistic people everywhere. So sometimes I commit some sins. It is not possible for me to go to temples. Why it is not possible? So why it is not possible? You can just go take a bus and go there, right? Why is it not possible to go to the temple? You may do sins, everybody does sins, but you can go to the temple and purify yourself. Why you should say I cannot go to temples? You should. Okay, anyway, I'll stop it here. Hare Krishna. It's not allowing me to even end the live stream.